The Supreme Court of the United States just told Donald Trump that his tariffs were illegal. Trump called his own judges a disgrace. And then he went ahead and did it anyway. Right now, as you watch this video, the most powerful legal institution in America has been publicly defied by the President of the United States. A constitutional crisis is unfolding in real time. And while the lawyers argue and the politicians shout, you're the one paying the bill. Because here is the number that nobody in the mainstream media is saying clearly enough. The average American household paid $1,000 extra last year because of Trump's tariffs. This year, that number rises to $1,300. And the Supreme Court just ruled that every single penny of it was collected illegally. You are not getting it back. This is Geo Polity. And this is the story of Trump versus his own Supreme Court and what it means for your wallet, your economy, and the future of American democracy itself. Welcome back to Geo Polity, the channel where global politics meets your daily reality. We break down the world's most consequential events in plain language, grounded in evidence, free from agenda. If you are watching for the first time, subscribe now. Because this is the third major economic story we have covered in 3 weeks, and they are all connected. Oil prices rising because of Iran. Technology supply chains threatened because of China. And now the legal and economic foundations of global trade being shaken because of one man's fight with his own judges. Stay with us, because this one affects everyone. Let us go back to the beginning. Because to understand why this ruling is so significant, you need to understand how we got here. When Donald Trump returned to the White House in January 2025, he came with an economic doctrine that he had been promoting for decades. The doctrine is simple. America has been ripped off by the rest of the world. Foreign countries sell their goods into America cheaply while keeping American products out. The solution is tariffs. Taxes on imported goods that make foreign products more expensive and push consumers toward buying American instead. It is an argument that resonates emotionally. And in certain industries, steel, aluminium, some manufacturing sectors, there is a kernel of economic truth buried inside it. But the way Trump implemented tariffs in his second term was not targeted. It was not surgical. It was sweeping, aggressive, and in the view of the Supreme Court of the United States, it was illegal. Here is what he did. Using emergency powers granted under a 1977 law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, Trump declared a national economic emergency and used that declaration to impose tariffs on virtually every country on Earth. Not just China, not just economic rivals, everyone, allies and adversaries alike. Canada, Mexico, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, the United Kingdom, all of them hit simultaneously with tariffs ranging from 10% to over 100% on certain goods. Markets collapsed. Supply chains fractured. Governments around the world scrambled to respond. Some retaliated with their own tariffs on American exports. Others rushed to negotiate exemptions. The global trading system that had been built over 80 years of careful international agreements began to come apart at its foundations. And then, just weeks ago, the Supreme Court of the United States issued its ruling. In a 6-3 decision, the court struck down Trump's tariffs as unconstitutional. The majority opinion was clear and direct. The emergency powers law that Trump used does not give any president the authority to impose blanket tariffs on the entire world. The power to regulate international trade belongs to Congress, not the executive branch. Trump had exceeded his legal authority. The tariffs were invalid. It was one of the most significant rulings on presidential power in modern American history. And Trump's response was immediate. He was meeting with a group of governors when the news was brought to him. He read the ruling. He looked up, and he said, out loud, in front of witnesses, that is a disgrace. Then he walked out of the room. At a press conference later that day, he attacked the justices directly. Not just the 3 who dissented from his position, but the 6 who formed the majority, including 2 justices that he himself had appointed to the court during his first term. Judges that his own administration had selected, vetted, and celebrated. He called the ruling a political attack. He called it an embarrassment. He called it wrong. And then, and this is the part that makes this story truly historic, he announced that he would simply impose new tariffs under a different legal authority. Not a pause, not a negotiation, not a return to Congress to seek proper legislative approval. A direct, public defiance of the highest court in the land. Within days, the White House announced a 15% global tariff rate under an alternative legal framework. Trade lawyers immediately challenged the new tariffs as equally unconstitutional. Foreign governments who had hoped the ruling would bring relief found themselves back where they started. The Supreme Court had spoken. The president had listened. And then the president had done whatever he wanted anyway. Now let us talk about what this means for the global economy. Because the legal drama, as extraordinary as it is not the most important part of this story for most of the people watching this video. The most important part is this. The global trading system runs on predictability. Businesses make long-term decisions, where to source components, where to manufacture, where to sell, how to price their products, based on stable, predictable rules. When those rules become unpredictable, businesses freeze. They delay investment. They raise prices to protect themselves against uncertainty. They pass the cost on to you. That is exactly what is happening right now. A survey of American small businesses conducted in the past month found that over 80% of small business owners either raised prices or seriously considered raising prices because of the tariffs. Over 40% delayed or canceled planned expansion. Nearly 1/3 were considering layoffs. These are not giant corporations with legal teams and lobbyists who can navigate the chaos. These are the restaurants, the retailers, the tradespeople, the small manufacturers that form the backbone of the real economy. And they are being squeezed from every direction simultaneously. On one side, the cost of imported goods, raw materials, components, finished products has risen sharply because of tariffs. On the other side, consumers who are already stretched by inflation, by rising energy bills because of the Iran oil shock, by stagnant wages, those consumers are pulling back. They're spending less. And that means revenues are falling even as costs are rising. It is a vice. And small businesses are caught in the middle of it. For consumers, the picture is equally grim. The Tax Foundation, a nonpartisan economic research organization, has calculated that Trump's tariffs cost the average American household $1,000 in 2025. The projected figure for 2026 is $1,300. And this cost falls hardest on the people who can least afford it. The bottom 10% of households by income are losing the equivalent of 1.1% of their entire after-tax income to tariff costs alone. Now here is the question that millions of people are searching online right now. The Supreme Court said the tariffs were illegal. Does that mean I get my money back? The answer almost certainly is no. Here is why. Even in a scenario where a legal challenge successfully forced a refund of tariff revenue, which would involve years of litigation and an extraordinary act of political will, the economic damage flows through the system in ways that cannot simply be reversed. When a tariff made a pair of trainers $10 more expensive, the retailer collected that extra $10 from you. The retailer passed some of it to the government as tariff revenue. Some of it covered the retailer's own increased costs. Some of it went to margins. Walmart is not going to give you a check for the tariff on the trainers you bought 4 months ago. The supply chain does not work backwards. The money is gone. And the prices, in most cases, will not automatically come back down even if the tariffs are removed tomorrow, because businesses that raised prices to protect their margins have no automatic incentive to lower them again when the pressure eases. This is the part of the story that makes people genuinely angry when they understand it. The tariffs were ruled illegal. You paid them anyway, and you are almost certainly never getting that money back. Let us talk about the United Kingdom and Europe, because this story is not just American. Britain left the European Union in part because of promises about sovereign trade policy, the ability to strike independent deals with the United States and other major economies. Those dreams of a quick and generous US-UK trade deal evaporated the moment Trump returned to office and announced that every country, including Britain, would face his tariffs. The United Kingdom currently faces a 10% baseline tariff on exports to the United States. For certain sectors, pharmaceuticals, automotive, agriculture, the specific rates are even higher. British businesses that export to America, which is the UK's single largest individual trading partner, are absorbing costs that were simply not there 18 months ago. The Bank of England has noted that global trade uncertainty is one of the key factors complicating its monetary policy decisions. The British government has been engaged in quiet diplomatic efforts to secure an exemption or a reduction. So far, those efforts have produced very little. For European governments, the situation is similar. The European Union has been constructing a retaliatory package targeting American exports, bourbon, Harley-Davidson motorcycles, agricultural products, chosen specifically because they come from American states whose voters Trump depends on politically. It is economic warfare conducted with surgical precision, and it shows no sign of ending. Japan and South Korea, two of America's most important Asian allies, the very allies America would need alongside it in any confrontation with China over Taiwan, have both been caught by Trump's tariffs in ways that are straining those relationships at exactly the moment when alliance solidarity matters most. The geopolitical cost of this economic chaos is not abstract. It is concrete. Every time an ally feels economically attacked by Washington, their political leaders face domestic pressure to distance themselves from American foreign policy positions. The tariffs are not just an economic problem. They are weakening the very alliances that underpin American global power. Now let us zoom out and see the bigger picture. Because this is the third consecutive Geo Polity video that has brought you to the same conclusion from 3 different directions. The Iran war shocked the global energy system and pushed oil toward $100 a barrel. China's calculations about Taiwan are being made in the shadow of an America that is militarily and politically overstretched. And now the tariff crisis has revealed that the global trading system, the rules-based economic order that has underpinned relative peace and prosperity for 80 years, can be shaken to its foundations by the decisions of a single man in a single office in Washington, D.C. These 3 stories are not separate. They are chapters in the same book. A book about a world that is transitioning, sometimes violently, sometimes chaotically, from one order to another. An order where American leadership was, whatever its flaws, at least predictable, towards something new, something more contested, something that nobody has yet clearly defined. That transition is the story of our era. And understanding it, really understanding it, not just following the headlines, is the difference between being shaped by the world and being able to navigate it. So what happens next? In the short term, the legal battles continue. Trade lawyers across America are preparing new challenges to the replacement tariffs Trump announced after the Supreme Court ruling. Some of those challenges will succeed. Some will fail. The uncertainty will persist for months, possibly years. In the medium term, the world will adapt. Countries that cannot rely on open access to the American market will deepen trade ties with each other. The European Union is already accelerating trade agreements with countries across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. China is doing the same. A world that was moving toward economic integration is now moving, steadily and perhaps irreversibly, toward economic fragmentation. That fragmentation will cost everyone. But it will cost the poorest countries and the poorest households the most. It always does. And in the long term, the question that historians will argue about is this: was the rules-based international order that America built after 1945 genuinely a system of shared benefit, or was it always primarily a vehicle for American power? And if America will not uphold it, who will? Those are not easy questions. They do not have clean answers. But they are the questions that the events of the past 3 weeks, the Iran war, the China-Taiwan tension, and now the Supreme Court tariff ruling are forcing the world to confront whether it is ready or not. You are living through a hinge moment in history, a moment when the structures that shaped the world your parents and grandparents knew are being tested more severely than at any point since the Second World War. Geo Polity exists to make sure you understand what is happening and why. Not to alarm you, not to tell you what to think, but to give you the information and the context you need to form your own clear picture of the world. If this video gave you something, a clearer picture, a new connection, a better understanding of how these events link together, please like it. That single action tells YouTube that this kind of serious, evidence-based analysis deserves to reach more people. And right now, more people need it. Subscribe to Geo Polity if you are not already here. We are publishing new analysis every week, and in a world moving this fast, you do not want to be catching up. Share this video with someone who is frustrated about prices, about trade, about the feeling that the rules have changed and nobody told them. Give them the explanation they deserve. And tell us in the comments, do you think any institution can actually stop Trump? Do you think the Supreme Court still means anything when a president can simply ignore it and move on? We read every comment, and your answers shape what we explore next. This is Geo Polity. Stay informed, stay analytical, and we will see you in the next one.